the AP is reporting that the conservatives blocked Trump's big tax break in a bill in a stunning setback. Now, it is a setback to, according to your average conservatives, but the reasons that they have that this bill didn't pass are actually, in my opinion, pretty legitimate. And we'll get into this, but it is actually a very good thing if you are a Second Amendment minded person, at least on the tertiary side. So AP reports Washington in a setback. House Republicans failed Friday to push their big package of tax breaks and spending cuts through the Budget Committee as a handful of conservatives joined all Democrats in a stunning vote against it. The hard-right lawmakers are insisting on steeper spending cuts to Medicaid and their Biden-era green energy tax breaks, among other changes, before they will give their support to President Donald Trump's beautiful bill. They warned tax cuts alone would pile into the nation's $36 trillion debt. The failed vote, 16-21, stalls for now. House Speaker Mike Johnson's push to have the package approved next week, but the Budget Committee plans to reconvene Sunday to try again. Lawmakers vowed to negotiate into the weekend as Trump is returning to Washington from the Middle East. Something needs to change, and you're not going to get my support, said Representative Chip Roy from Texas. Tallying a whopping 1,116 pages, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, named with a nod to Trump, is teetering at a critical moment. Johnson is determined to resolve the problems with his package that he believes will inject a dose of stability into the wavering economy. Now, it's my opinion that this bill will do very good things for the economy, right? You get tax cuts, but there are a lot of things that they're legitimately critical of, which is, first of all, it is an increase in spending, which is something the Democrats or the Republicans have been saying that they're not going to do. A lot of them have run on the fact that they're not going to increase spending. If you actually do care about the fiscal health of the United States, cuts have to be made. Clearly, there should be reforms to Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. Those are the big mandatory spending things, but I don't think those are actually addressed in this particular bill. But there does need to be a slowdown of spending. There needs to be cuts. The fact that they are some of the Republicans are putting the brakes on because of the Short Act and the Hearing Protection Act, in my opinion, that's the right move. These are things that should be no-brainers for Republicans. They're low effort and low cost, especially because this will be an omnibus bill. This is going to be a gigantic bill that's going to get passed. And if your constituents don't like it, you can say, well, look, we had to pass this and I didn't put that stuff in there. So it gives them cover. And, honestly, I don't think that this is likely to actually not pass. I think overall it's going to pass. So these changes should get in there, and I do think that it's would be a very good thing for the Republicans to do. What do you think, TJ?
Yeah, I mean, on two fronts. Just today, Moody's dropped the United States AAA credit rating.
Really? Oh, did they? I didn't hear about that.
That just happened today. So our credit worthiness is going down for the first time in my life. Jeez. Our national debt is rapidly approaching $37 trillion if it's not already there. We have to do something about this if we want future generations to live in an era of prosperity that our prior generations lived in. And the real tax is the spending programs. We can't truly cut enough taxes to bring about American prosperity without significant spending cuts. And, we can just look at what just happened today. That should be a kick in the pants to say it is time to address our spending habits. And I'm going to be level. All gun control is unconstitutional. And the Ways and Means Committee gutted the provisions of this bill that would have helped millions of Americans exercise their basic Second Amendment rights by taking suppressors and short-barreled guns off of the National Firearms Act. Instead, they only got rid of the $200 transfer tax. They didn't even get rid of all the taxes. You have an annual occupational tax. If you are a dealer or manufacturer, you have a separate tax as well under the NFA. If you're an importer, there's another tax. But also, the NFA is even more dangerous, as my friends at the National Association for Gun Rights points out. It is a database of gun owners. If you have a suppressor like I do, if you have an SBR, you are part of a national database that has all of your information. It has your fingerprints. It is outrageous. And there are there's about 4.9 million suppressors in circulation right now.
Very much in common use.
Yes.
So it would stand up to the standards under, I think it's Bruin.
Bruin,
Yeah.
yes,
Oh,
Bruin
sorry
and
for cutting you
Heller.
off, but go ahead.
Yeah, so this bill has the chance to do something truly incredible to protect gun owners and to truly unleash the basic right of self-preservation. And I completely understand why Andrew Clyde and these reps were voting it down. One, there's way too much spending, and two, we're not doing enough to protect gun owners, and that's something that we campaigned on. We campaigned on an absolute adherence to our Constitution, to returning to fiscal sanity. And look, the reality is that the appropriators love going to the Democrats to try to get the votes for it, and I'm glad that people are staying their ground. I'm sure this bill is going to pass, and I hope we can get it to a point where we're actually cutting spending, where we're actually protecting the gun owners. And by the way that we're getting gun owners into this is that the NFA is primarily a tax bill. So thank goodness we found that opportunity to go in and try to gut the NFA, but we need to repeal the whole thing.
Yeah, so if you are interested in making your voice known about this, you can call Speaker Johnson and you can let him know that you want to see the Short Act and the Hearing Protection Act both in the bill. These two particular acts, they'll protect existing gun owners because this doesn't do anything. These don't do anything to prevent people from getting guns or getting their hands on suppressors. Everyone is pretty aware that there are enough guns and there are enough suppressors in the United States that if someone wants to get their hands on them, they can get their hands on them. And it is not common to see anyone using a short barrel rifle or a suppressor in commission of crimes. Everyone knows that the vast majority of crimes that are committed, they're committed with handguns because they're the easiest to conceal. So it's a good idea to call your reps and make sure that they're pushing for this. Or you can call Speaker Johnson's office and be like, hey, this is important to me and to other conservative and pro Second Amendment Americans. Put that in there so that way we can stop throwing regular Americans that are not breaking the law and stop throwing them in jail and hassling them and making them go through all kinds of onerous BS just to own firearms that are clearly protected under the Second Amendment. So the blocking of this bill, AP continued to say that with a few votes to spare from his slim majority, the Republicans are trying to pass it over staunch objections of Democrats who slammed the package's big, bad bill, or as Rep. from Malajaya Paul Washington called it, one big, beautiful betrayal. I think that everyone knows that the Democrats are just going to be in lockstep against whatever happens. I'm not sure exactly what they think what kind of changes would make the Democrats sign on to it. But considering that it was 100% of the Democrats, all of the Democrats voted no, I don't think that there is anything that the Republicans can do. Does anyone have a sense of differently, or is this just all partisanship in your opinion?
When was the last time there was a spending bill that didn't fall on partisan lines?
Well, the thing is, I can't answer that off the top of my head, but I do know that, Republicans will step out of line. Clearly the reason this didn't pass is because, Republicans stepped out of line. I think it was like 6 people they said, or 5 people they said decided they weren't going to vote for it. So Republicans do have a mind of their own, but I don't know if there's anything the Republicans can do to get Democrats on board. And I'm wondering if you guys can think of it.
There's no way. Yeah, there's no way they can get Democrats on line. They are lock, stock, smoke and barrel, falling in line, doing what they want to do, or doing what they're told to do, as we know with the Biden still being president and everyone telling him voting for him and supporting him. I also didn't know that it was actually literally called the One Big Beautiful Bill. Yeah. I thought that was just a joke. That's hilarious.
And I think that's why Democrats will never get on it no matter what's in it, because they are not here for policy at this point. They are here for blood against President Trump and his supporters, and anything that is modeled off of his framing, they're not going to go for it. And that's something that really changed the dynamic, because up until now, every single spending bill that Mike Johnson has gotten through, he's gotten it through rule suspension and getting Democrats to vote on it. He's gotten Democrats to defect over, while the fiscal hawks, the people like myself who pledged to never vote for a budget that increases the total level of spending, he had to get them. But now he can't get them. He has to get the conservatives on board. And that's a good position for us now.
Before today, it was my inclination to believe that Democrats were going to be a party to this, and the reason is because it is similar to an omnibus bill. You know, they can put their garbage in there. They can
I was going to say, is there anything in there for gender studies in Paraguay? Because if there is, they might be able to push it through.
You know, I was assuming that it was going to be a situation where Democrats would say, oh, well, hey, you know, we'll put this garbage in there, we'll put that garbage in there, and that way we can, you know, hold our nose and vote for it. And that's what I was under the impression happened frequently when it came to these types of bills, where everybody just shoved the junk in that they wanted to get, and everyone else said, well, I don't want to vote for your stuff, but because I'm getting my stuff, I'll go ahead and hold my nose and do it.
You should sneak term limits in there.
I mean, I don't see them doing that. And I'm still of the opinion that term limits are not the fix all that a lot of
No,
people
but it
seem
would
to-
help.
I'm not sure.
Then let me ask you guys a question. Then what is if you're talking about, you know, decreasing spending, cutting spending, where do you go first?
So, I mean, I wouldn't take anything off the table. So the overwhelming majority of our spending is in Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, National Defense. Look, all three of these are
is mandatory spending something that they could affect on this one?
I mean, theoretically, you could crack open anything in the legislative process, but in this stuff, I mean, foreign aid would be the first thing on discretionary spending that I would get rid of. It all needs to go. Another thing, codify the Doge cuts.
Sure, yeah.
That is one of the number one things that people knew was coming. President Trump campaigned on government efficiency, cutting waste, cutting fraud, cutting abuse. The people at Doge are working night and day for a more efficient government to where we can truly get to these cuts, and they're doing great work, but appropriators in Congress are stonewalling them, and sadly, it's people with the same letter next to my name doing it, and it's disgraceful. We need to absolutely make sure that fiscal conservatism is on the ballot in 2026. The people who are going to prevail in the next election cycle are going to be the people who put their foot down and say, we are not selling future generations down the river with endless debt. We need to codify the Doge cuts. Look, there might be people have concerns about Doge, but that we knew this was coming. It needs to get through. We need to get that through. We need to make sure that we are not having over centralization on issues that are fundamentally up to the states. Getting rid of the Department of Education would be something that could go into this bill as well. And the good news is that there's universal school choice provisions in the bill, but it needs to go even further. Put it in as block grants to the states and ensure that they have to adopt universal school choice programs. That's a huge issue in Kentucky. Our Supreme Court said that school choice is unconstitutional. Parents, it's unconstitutional to decide where your children go to school. Well, the way that the federal government is right now, this is an opportunity to give that in as well. Get rid of these woke DEI programs. Make sure that we're not funding gender studies in Pakistan, which is one thing that we've done. Let's cut the grant that we have in Kentucky. There's a federal grant to study the sex habits of quail while they're high.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Rand Paul exposed that, and ever since he exposed it, they still keep putting it in the budget.
Really? They keep putting it in?
It's still there. It is still there. I mean, these just absolutely nonsensical programs. Just get back to the bare bone basics. What is the legitimate role of government? Protecting life, protecting liberty, protecting property. And just look at the expenditures and just ask yourself, does this expenditure do one of those three things? And if the answer is no, cut it.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.